Well, there's one thing Judge Mandisa Maya made supremely clear at last week's Chief Justice interviews. She said, and to quote, "I am not good because I am a woman. I am a good woman judge." Yet, because she's the only female candidate for Chief Justice, much of Maya's interview centered on that very fact. While she's now the Judicial Service Commission's preferred choice for the top spot, some commentators are lamenting the questions put to her as sexist. Nicole Fritz is with non-profit Freedom Under Law, and she's live on the line now. Nicole, thanks for joining us. I mean, I think you sent out a statement on the weekend, and to quote, you said process was tainted, irrational, degraded, and no victory at all. It was a debased process. Take us through that. Having watched it, I have to say I agree to some extent. It devolved into a political and in many ways sexist circus.
I think that's right, Annika. Just to clarify, I am in fact the director of the Helen Suzman Foundation, and so those statements were that were made in my capacity as the director of the Helen Suzman Foundation, and you know, it may be that the president should and will appoint Justice Maya as the Chief Justice. And certainly it will be a historic moment for South Africa. But our position is that he should not do so on the basis of the recommendation from the JSC, that those interviews were so corrupted and degraded, such an abuse of what it must mean to engage in searching, examination, probing of candidates as to their fitness to hold the position of Chief Justice, to take the helm of our judiciary. And we witnessed that again and again, not only in respect of the very patronizing, arguably sexist questions that were put to Justice Maya, but the unfair questioning, ambushing of Judge President Malambo, the political chaos that descended on Friday evening during the acting Chief Justice Zondo's interview, where we had Commissioner Malema screaming at the Justice Minister, Ronald Lamola. Those questions just being used as a pretext to wage a political fight. So all of that goes to suggesting that the process as a whole was, as we have said, a corrupted one.
Nicole, do you feel that Malema and to an extent Dali Mpofu went in with the intention of causing disruption to deflect and divert from the actual issues, which is, do you have the jurisprudence, legitimacy and leadership values that are required to be a Chief Justice?
Certainly, it seems like there was a large measure of caucusing that had taken place between those commissioners and some others. So it seemed as if they were acting in relay. For instance, in respect of Judge President Malambo, 2 hours of that interview were taken up in relation to questioning of, entirely unsubstantiated rumor of sexual harassments. As has already been indicated, nothing of substance was put to him, and yet Commissioner Malema, Commissioner Mpofu, to some extent Commissioner Madonsela, acted as a tag team, just continuing to hit at the same unfounded, unsubstantiated allegations. And certainly that created some of the worst excesses of abuse that we saw during last week's interview process.
I have to say that one of the sexist parts of or comments made by Advocate Dali Mpofu SC was when he said, I met Justice Maya one night, and then had that pause studying. This is an intelligent man. He is articulate, he's erudite, he's a decent human being from what I've met. What on earth was that all about?
Who knows? But I mean, I think this is one of the deep and deeply troubling ironies of this process, is that it concludes with the recommendation of Justice Maya and the suggestion that, a great feminist fight has been fought and won. And unfortunately, the process indicates anything but. As I've already said, the questions put to her were patronizing. They were really softball questions. She wasn't probed with rigor and robustness, as if she were not equal to anything more. that sexual innuendo, the fact that a commissioner believes himself entitled to put that type of sexual innuendo to the first female candidate to be considered for the Chief Justice position, deeply concerning. The fact that during the interviews of Judge President Malambo, Julius Malema at some point sort of rounds on a journalist and through the chair instructs her to take her medication, and calls her out for her supposed white tendencies. But that specific reference was to take her medication, such a misogynist display. And I think sort of time and time again, we saw those kinds of sexist utterances. And so to suggest that this process yields a feminist victory is so very far from the truth.
Which was really unfair on Justice Meyer too. Do you think she proved herself to be a capable leader at the SCA and an impressive jurist? Because the final decision really lies now with President Ramaphosa, and if he gets advice that she doesn't have those qualities, he's going to come in for so much criticism.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's no question that those 4 candidates are all very fine jurists. Unfortunately, again, as you say, the interview process did Justice Meyer no favors. The suggestion that she, is the preferred candidate as a result of a corrupted, degraded process suggests that far from women being able to hold their own on the basis of kind of equality and merit, they do so only as a result of some abused, tainted process is difficult to swallow, does her no favors. The questioning to which she was subjected to, again and again, is South Africa ready for a female Chief Justice? I mean, that goes in no way to probing her fitness for judicial office and for the highest judicial office, being required to take a temperature check of the sort of public sentiment of South Africa. And so unfortunately, the interview process that we saw, even absent the kind of worst excesses, didn't really go to probing and giving her the opportunity to shine and demonstrating, her intellectual leadership, because we just didn't see enough of that type of questioning.
Thank you so much to Nicole Fritz, who's from Freedom Under Law, and Helen Suzman Foundation. Thank you so much for your time today.